The police investigation, spurred by the growing number of consistent reports and the near-miss encounter Reno had unknowingly triggered, intensified. Inspector Kemi's team focused on gathering more concrete evidence. They revisited victims, this time armed with a clearer understanding of the suspect's methods and appearance. Several victims, though still hazy on specific details, were able to provide slightly more precise descriptions of Reno, his height, build, and any distinguishing features they could recall. One woman remembered a small scar above his left eyebrow, while another recalled a particular way he gestured with his hands. These seemingly minor details, when pieced together, provided a more complete picture of the suspect. Crucially, the police also managed to obtain clearer security footage from a few locations. While many clips were too blurry or the suspect was obscured by crowds, they found a few instances where Reno's face was clearly visible as he interacted with victims just moments before they showed signs of drowsiness. This visual evidence was a major breakthrough, providing a tangible image to match the verbal descriptions. Inspector Kemi ordered the distribution of these images to police officers across Lagos, along with a detailed description of Reno's modus operandi and the distinctive floral scent of his spray. They also increased surveillance in areas where the incidents were most frequently reported, deploying plainclothes officers to observe and blend in with the crowds. These officers were briefed on Reno's appearance and tactics, instructed to watch for anyone matching the description and engaging in suspicious interactions involving the offer of a spray. The plainclothes officers proved to be a valuable asset. They were able to observe Reno's activities firsthand, witnessing him approach potential victims, offer his spray, and then subtly relieve them of their belongings as they succumbed to the effects of the chemical. They documented his movements, his interactions, and the reactions of his victims, gathering crucial evidence that would be admissible in court. One observant officer even managed to discreetly collect a discarded tissue that Reno had used to wipe his hands after handling the spray bottles. This tissue was sent to the forensic laboratory for analysis, with the hope of identifying the chemical substance he was using to incapacitate his victims. The forensic report confirmed the presence of a mild sedative, explaining the sudden drowsiness and loss of consciousness experienced by the victims. This scientific evidence further solidified the police's case against Reno. The web was tightening. Eyewitness accounts were being corroborated by visual evidence and forensic analysis. The increased police presence and surveillance were making it increasingly difficult for Reno to operate undetected. His luck, which had sustained him for so long, was finally running out. The careful and methodical work of Inspector Kemi and her team was slowly but surely closing in on the man who had been preying on the unsuspecting people of Lagos. While Reno remained focused on his deceptive tactics, one of his partners, a man named Keo, began to feel increasingly uneasy. Initially, the allure of easy money had blinded him to the potential consequences of their actions. But as the operation grew and the news of people falling asleep and being robbed became more widespread, a sense of guilt and fear started to gnaw at him. He had seen the distress on the faces of some of the victims, the confusion and vulnerability in their eyes as they drifted into unconsciousness. He started to have nightmares, vivid images of the people they had wronged. The constant need for secrecy and the fear of being caught were also taking a toll on him. He found himself constantly looking over his shoulder, suspicious of every stranger. The initial thrill of illicit gain had been replaced by a gnawing anxiety. He had a family, a wife and 2 young children, and the thought of being arrested and separated from them filled him with dread. He started to question Reno's seemingly callous disregard for their victims. Reno seemed solely focused on the financial rewards, showing no remorse for the harm they were causing. Keo tried to broach the subject with Reno, expressing his concerns about the increasing risks and the ethical implications of their actions. But Reno brushed him off, dismissing his worries as weakness. "Don't get soft on me now, Keo," Reno had said, his voice dismissive. "We are making good money. Just keep your head down and do your part." Reno's lack of empathy and his dismissive attitude only amplified Keo's unease. He began to feel isolated and trapped. He knew that if they were caught, he would face severe consequences, and the thought of his family suffering because of his involvement terrified him. He started to distance himself from Reno and their other partner, becoming more withdrawn and less enthusiastic about their operations. He would often make excuses to avoid meeting them, and when he did, he was quiet and preoccupied. Reno noticed Keo's change in demeanor but attributed it to nerves. He tried to reassure him with promises of more significant payouts, but Keo remained unconvinced. The moral weight of their actions was becoming too heavy for him to bear. One evening, Keo had a particularly disturbing dream. He saw his children crying, asking for their father, as he sat behind bars. He woke up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding. It was a turning point for him. He knew he couldn't continue down this path. The fear of losing his family outweighed the allure of easy money. He started to contemplate a way out, a way to extricate himself from Reno's web of deceit. He considered going to the police, but the fear of the consequences for his own involvement held him back. He was torn between his conscience and his self-preservation. The cracks in Reno's gang were beginning to show. Keo's growing unease and his internal conflict created a vulnerability within their operation, a potential weak link that the authorities might eventually exploit. Reno, blinded by his greed and his belief in his own cleverness, failed to recognize the silent rebellion brewing within his own ranks. The police, armed with clear security footage, detailed descriptions, and forensic evidence of the sedative used in Reno's spray, were determined to apprehend him. Inspector Kemi devised a plan, an undercover operation designed to lure Reno into a situation where he could be caught red-handed. They deployed several plainclothes officers to strategic locations where Reno had been known to operate, particularly busy markets and bus terminals. These officers were equipped with hidden cameras and microphones, ready to document any interaction with the suspect. One of the undercover officers, a young and resourceful policewoman named Officer Folek, was tasked with playing the role of a potential victim. She was instructed to act distracted and appear to be carrying a valuable smartphone. She positioned herself near a popular bus stop, subtly displaying her phone as she pretended to be engrossed in a conversation. It wasn't long before Reno spotted her. She fit his usual profile, a seemingly preoccupied individual, an easy target. He approached her with his practiced charm, a disarming smile on his face. "Good afternoon, madam," he began, his voice smooth and friendly. "This Lagos heat can be quite tiring, can't it? I have this wonderful, all-natural body spray that will instantly refresh you. It has a lovely scent of jasmine and a hint of mint." Officer Folek feigned interest. "Oh, really? It does smell nice," she said, taking a deliberate sniff of the spray he offered. As she did so, other undercover officers positioned themselves strategically nearby, their hidden cameras recording the entire interaction. Reno continued his patter, engaging Officer Folek in a brief conversation, just as he had done with his previous victims. He watched for the telltale signs of drowsiness, the slight droop of her eyelids, the subtle sway. Confident that the spray was taking effect, he subtly moved closer, his hand inching towards her phone. Just as he made his move to slip the phone from her grasp, the surrounding plainclothes officers swiftly moved in. Reno was caught completely by surprise. He struggled briefly, but he was quickly overpowered and handcuffed. The bottle of his infamous sleepy spray was confiscated, along with several stolen phones and wallets found in his bag. The entire operation was captured on the hidden cameras, providing irrefutable evidence of his criminal activities. As Reno was being led away, a wave of relief washed over the bystanders who had witnessed the arrest. Many recognized him as the friendly man who had offered the strange-smelling spray, the cause of so much confusion and loss in their community. The trap had been sprung, and the man behind the sleepy spray was finally in custody. Inspector Kemi and her team had successfully brought an end to Reno's reign of deception, thanks to their meticulous investigation and the courageous effort of the undercover officers. Reno's arrest sent ripples of relief and a sense of vindication through the communities in Lagos that had been plagued by his crimes. News of his apprehension spread quickly, and many victims came forward to identify him as the man who had offered them the sleep-inducing spray. At the police station, Reno initially maintained his innocence, feigning ignorance and claiming that he was simply a harmless vendor selling body spray. However, the overwhelming evidence against him, the security footage, the consistent eyewitness accounts, the forensic analysis of the sedative in his spray, and the stolen items found in his possession, made his denials futile. Inspector Kemi, with her calm but firm demeanor, presented him with the irrefutable proof of his guilt. She showed him the security footage of him interacting with his victims moments before they fell unconscious, the hidden camera footage of his attempted theft from Officer Folek, and the forensic report detailing the chemical composition of his spray. Faced with this mountain of evidence, Reno's facade of innocence began to crumble. He became agitated and defensive, but his denials grew weaker and less convincing. Eventually, under persistent questioning and the weight of the evidence, Reno broke down. He confessed to his crimes, admitting to using the sedative-laced body spray to incapacitate his victims and steal their valuables. He detailed his methods, explaining how he had developed the spray and how he had targeted unsuspecting individuals in public places. He even revealed the identities of his partners, Keo and the other man, and explained their role in distributing the stolen goods. His confession provided a complete picture of his criminal enterprise, confirming the suspicions of the police and the experiences of his many victims. Following Reno's confession, the police swiftly moved to apprehend his accomplices. Keo, who had been living with increasing guilt and fear, offered little resistance when the police arrived at his home. He cooperated fully with the investigation, providing further details about their operations and expressing remorse for his involvement. The other partner was also apprehended without incident. With all members of the gang in custody, the police were able to recover more of the stolen items and began the process of returning them to their rightful owners. The arrest and confession of Reno brought a sense of closure to the many people who had suffered losses at Reno's hands. The news of his confession and the recovery of some of their belongings brought a measure of relief and justice to the victims across Lagos. With Reno's confession and Keo's cooperation, the police were able to fully unmask the network that had facilitated Reno's criminal enterprise. Keo provided crucial information about their methods of distributing the stolen goods, the individuals they sold to, and the locations where these transactions typically took place. He revealed the identities of several fences, individuals who knowingly bought stolen property and then resold it for profit. Acting on this information, Inspector Kemi's team launched further investigations, tracking down these fences and recovering even more of the stolen phones, jewelry, and other valuables. The investigation into the fencing network revealed a complex web of individuals operating in the shadows of Lagos' bustling markets and neighborhoods. Some were small-time operators, dealing in a few stolen items at a time, while others were more organized, running established businesses that served as fronts for their illicit activities. The police were able to gather enough evidence to arrest several of these individuals, further dismantling the infrastructure that had allowed Reno's gang to profit from their crimes. The apprehension of the fences not only helped recover stolen property but also sent a strong message that those who facilitated criminal activities would also be held accountable. The downfall of Reno's gang was a significant victory for law enforcement in Lagos. It demonstrated their commitment to tackling not just the perpetrators of crimes but also the networks that enabled them. The successful dismantling of this operation served as a deterrent to others who might be tempted to engage in similar activities. The recovery of stolen goods brought immense relief to the victims, many of whom had given up hope of ever seeing their phones, money, or cherished possessions again. The process of identifying the rightful owners and returning their belongings was a painstaking one, but the gratitude and relief expressed by the victims made the effort worthwhile for the police officers involved. The unmasking of Reno's network and the subsequent arrest sent a clear message throughout Lagos: crime, no matter how cleverly disguised, would eventually be brought to light, and those involved would face the full force of the law. The city breathed a collective sigh of relief as this particular chapter of deceit and loss came to a close. As the news of Reno's arrest and confession spread, many of his victims felt empowered to share their stories. Initially, there had been a sense of confusion and even shame associated with falling asleep so suddenly and being robbed. Some had doubted their own memories, wondering if they had simply been unwell or careless. However, the revelation of Reno's method validated their experiences and allowed them to connect with others who had suffered similarly. Madame Chioma, a market trader who had lost her phone and a significant amount of her daily earnings, recounted the fear and frustration she felt upon waking up disoriented and realizing she had been robbed. "I thought I was just tired," she said, her voice still tinged with the memory. "But then I heard others talking about the same thing, the sweet smell, the sudden sleepiness. It was so strange. When the police caught him, I felt a great sense of relief. It was like a weight had been lifted." Young Deli and his mother also shared their experience, highlighting how Reno had even preyed on children. Deli's mother expressed her anger and concern that someone would target vulnerable individuals in such a deceptive way. "He seemed so friendly," she said. "That's what makes it so disturbing. He used kindness as a weapon." Several businessmen who had been targeted near their offices spoke of the inconvenience and the sense of violation they felt. Losing their phones meant losing important contacts and work data. The theft of their wallets caused financial disruption and a feeling of insecurity. The stories were varied but shared a common thread of surprise, vulnerability, and the insidious nature of Reno's deception. The news that some of their belongings were being recovered brought immense joy and gratitude. For many, it wasn't just about the monetary value of the stolen items but also the sentimental attachment and the disruption to their lives. The opportunity to identify their recovered possession at the police station provided a sense of closure and allowed them to reclaim a part of what they had lost. The voices of the victims served as a powerful reminder of the human cost of Reno's crimes. Their stories highlighted the fear, the frustration, and the sense of violation they had experienced. They also underscored the importance of the police's work in bringing Reno and his gang to justice. The collective sharing of these experiences fostered a sense of community among the victims, a shared understanding of what they had gone through. It also served as a warning to others to be more vigilant and cautious of strangers, no matter how friendly they might seem. The legal proceedings against Reno and his gang moved swiftly, thanks to the overwhelming evidence gathered by the police. The security footage, the eyewitness testimonies, the forensic analysis of the sedative, and Reno's own confession painted a clear picture of their criminal activities. Reno and his partners were formally charged with multiple counts of robbery, conspiracy, and administering harmful substances. The prosecution presented a compelling case, detailing Reno's method of operation, the impact on his victims, and the extent of their criminal enterprise. The defense attorneys attempted to argue for leniency, but the sheer volume of evidence and the gravity of the offenses made their task exceedingly difficult. The trial garnered significant media attention in Lagos, with many victims and concerned citizens following the proceedings closely. The public outcry against Reno's deceptive tactics was strong, and there was a widespread demand for justice. During the trial, several victims took the stand to recount their experiences, their emotional testimonies highlighting the sense of vulnerability and betrayal they had felt. Their stories resonated deeply with the jury and the wider public, underscoring the harmful impact of Reno's actions. Keo, having cooperated with the police, provided valuable testimony against Reno and the other partner. His remorse and his willingness to assist the authorities were taken into consideration by the court. In the end, the jury found Reno guilty on all counts. The judge, in his sentencing remarks, condemned Reno's calculated and deceptive methods, emphasizing the breach of trust and the harm caused to the victims. Reno was handed a significant prison sentence, reflecting the seriousness of his crimes and serving as a deterrent to others. His other partner, who had also played a key role in the operation, received a similar sentence. Keo, due to his cooperation and his expression of remorse, received a lighter sentence, although he was still held accountable for his involvement. The sentencing of Reno and his gang brought a sense of finality to the ordeal for the victims. It was a clear message that such deceptive and harmful criminal behavior would not be tolerated in Lagos. Justice had been served, and the community could finally begin to heal from the fear and insecurity that Reno's actions had created. The case also served as a reminder of the importance of vigilance and the need for law enforcement to adapt to evolving criminal tactics. The case of Reno and his sleepy spray left a lasting impact on the people of Lagos. It served as a stark reminder that not everyone who appears friendly has good intentions and that vigilance is crucial in navigating the bustling and sometimes unpredictable environment of the city. People became more cautious of strangers approaching them with unsolicited offers, especially those involving pleasant-smelling substances. The once commonplace acceptance of a friendly gesture from a stranger was now often met with a healthy dose of skepticism. Parents cautioned their children about accepting anything from strangers, emphasizing the importance of being wary even of those who seemed kind. Market traders became more watchful of those who lingered near their stalls, and commuters were more alert to interactions with unfamiliar individuals at bus stops and taxi ranks. The police also played a crucial role in raising public awareness. They conducted outreach programs, educating people about Reno's tactics and advising them on how to protect themselves from similar scams. They emphasized the importance of reporting any suspicious activity and urged the public to be cautious of anything that seemed too good to be true. The case also highlighted the need for law enforcement to stay ahead of evolving criminal methods. Inspector Kemi and her team were commended for their diligence and their ability to connect seemingly disparate incidents, ultimately leading to Reno's apprehension. The police force vowed to remain vigilant and to adapt their strategies to address new forms of crime that might emerge. While the memory of Reno's deception lingered, it also fostered a greater sense of community and shared awareness among the people of Lagos. Neighbors looked out for each other, and there was a renewed emphasis on communication and sharing information about potential threats. The experience, though negative, served as a catalyst for increased vigilance and a stronger sense of collective responsibility in safeguarding the well-being of the community. Lagos, a city known for its resilience and vibrancy, learned a valuable lesson from Reno's crimes, a lesson that would hopefully make its residents more aware and better protected in the future. Even after Reno's conviction and the recovery of stolen goods, a subtle unease lingered in the air of Lagos. The sweet, flower scent that had once seemed innocuous now carried a sinister connotation for many. The memory of the sudden sleepiness and the subsequent loss remained vivid for the victims, a constant reminder of the vulnerability they had experienced. Others, who had heard the stories, became hyper-aware of any unfamiliar fragrances in public spaces, a slight tightening of their muscles accompanying the scent of jasmine or lavender. The case of the sleepy spray became a cautionary tale, recounted in hushed tones among friends and family. It served as a stark illustration of how easily trust could be exploited and how appearances could be deceiving. The initial shock and disbelief had given way to a more cautious approach to interactions with strangers. While the vibrant energy of Lagos remained undiminished, a new layer of awareness had been added to the daily interactions of its residents. People were more observant, their gazes lingering a moment longer on unfamiliar faces, their responses to friendly overtures a little more measured. The police continued their efforts to reassure the public, emphasizing that Reno's gang had been dismantled and that they remained vigilant in preventing similar crimes. However, the psychological impact of Reno's deception was undeniable. The sense of security in casual public interactions had been somewhat eroded, replaced by a need for greater discernment. The lingering scent, both literal and metaphorical, served as a constant reminder of the need for caution in a city where trust could sometimes be a dangerous commodity. Yet, amidst this heightened awareness, the resilience of the Lagos spirit shone through. People adapted, they learned, and they became more united in their vigilance. The experience, while unsettling, ultimately fostered a stronger sense of community and a shared commitment to looking out for one another. The city, though scarred by Reno's actions, emerged with a renewed sense of caution and a determination to protect its own. The apprehension of Reno and his gang was a significant victory, but it also prompted discussions about the underlying factors that might have contributed to his criminal behavior. Some community leaders and social commentators pointed to issues of poverty, unemployment, and the stark inequalities that existed within Lagos as potential root causes. They argued that desperation and a lack of opportunities could drive individuals towards criminal activities as a means of survival or a misguided attempt to improve their circumstances. While not excusing Reno's actions, these discussions aimed to understand the broader social context in which such crimes could occur. There were calls for increased efforts to address poverty, create more job opportunities, and provide social support systems for vulnerable individuals. Some organizations began initiatives focused on skills training and entrepreneurship, hoping to offer alternative paths to economic empowerment. The police also recognized the importance of community engagement in preventing crime. They increased their interactions with local communities, building trust and encouraging people to report suspicious activities. They also focused on addressing petty crimes and other social issues that could potentially escalate into more serious offenses. The case of Reno served as a catalyst for a broader conversation about social responsibility and the need for a multifaceted approach to crime prevention. It highlighted the fact that simply arresting criminals was not enough. Addressing the underlying socio-economic factors was crucial in creating a safer and more equitable society. While the immediate focus was on ensuring justice for Reno's victims, there was a growing recognition that long-term solutions require tackling the root causes that might lead individuals down a path of crime and deception. This involved a collaborative effort between government agencies, community organizations, and the residents of Lagos themselves, working together to build a more resilient and supportive environment for all. Years passed after Reno's apprehension and the dismantling of his gang. The immediate fear and unease associated with the sleepy spray gradually faded, replaced by a collective memory and a heightened sense of awareness. Lagos, a city that never truly stops moving, continued its vibrant and dynamic existence. The market still bustled, the buses still roared through the streets, and the people continued to navigate their daily lives with resilience and determination. However, the lessons learned from Reno's deception were not forgotten. The importance of vigilance remained ingrained in the city's consciousness, a subtle layer of caution underlying everyday interactions. The police force continued to adapt and evolve, employing more sophisticated methods of crime prevention and community engagement. The discussions about addressing the root causes of crime led to some positive changes, with increased investment in social programs and initiatives aimed at empowering vulnerable communities. While the memory of the losses and the betrayal lingered for Reno's victims, there was also a sense of closure and healing. They had seen justice served, and in many cases, they had recovered their stolen belongings. The shared experience had also fostered a sense of solidarity among them. The story of Reno's sleepy spray became a cautionary tale passed down through conversations, a reminder of the importance of staying alert and trusting one's instincts. It also served as a testament to the resilience of the people of Lagos, their ability to learn from adversity and to forge ahead with a renewed sense of awareness and community spirit. The city remembered the deception, but it refused to be defined by it. Instead, it used the experience as a catalyst for growth, for increased vigilance, and for a stronger commitment to ensuring the safety and well-being of all its residents. Lagos, forever marked by this unusual chapter, moved forward, its people wiser and more watchful, its spirit unbroken. I really hope you found this video entertaining. If you did, please show some love by giving it a like. I'd also love to hear your thoughts and feedback in the comments section. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you're the first to know when I upload new content. I'm always creating new videos, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. Thanks for watching.